Alright. How's it going, YouTube? Captain Oja here with Team KYP. Today I'm actually going to be bringing you my Vendread deck profile post-circuit break. And some of you may remember me and GuardedKam had a really terrible duel a few months back when the support first came out. But thankfully since then I learned how to play the deck properly this time. And actually I started incorporating some of the new stuff in there, and I feel I have a unique build that I've been searching YouTube and searching the internet trying to find an optimal build for this deck, and I feel I found a very scummy way of building this deck. And it was actually somewhat inspired by one of my last Cosmo decks that unfortunately I didn't have a chance to do the deck profile on because it just didn't happen. But anyway, let's get to the deck profile. You'll see what I did, and hopefully you guys have some advice, and maybe I can help you guys build it too. So we're going to go with the main deck like usual, then to the extra. Just to give you a heads up, I don't have a side deck just yet for this, but chances are I'll be putting a hell of a lot of hand traps in here because, you know, that's how the meta is, especially with spirals around now and Zodiacs are gone. So we'll see what happens for the side deck. Maybe I'll do an update later on.
You know, it's funny you brought that up.
What?
Zodiacs. I just seen a video saying Zodiacs aren't dead.
No, for the most part, they're gone. You know what? I'll tell a funny story if I ever have to do my Cosmo deck profile, but anyways, we'll get to that later. But anyways, let's get to the main deck. So, like any good Vendread, where's the center now? Alright, so 1, 2, and 3. 3 Vendread Slayers, you have to play 3 of them because he's also searchable with the ritual spell for the with the pre-preparation of rites.
Well, he's technically the boss monster.
Yeah, and he's technically the boss monster, and he looks like Spawn, so well, you know, he looks awesome. What his effect is how could I put this? During either player's turn, you can banish a zombie type monster in the grave, and he gain. I think it's a. Just edit this later. Banish away. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna say that again. Basically what his effect is, you can banish a zombie type monster during either player's turn so that he gains 300 attack, so he becomes essentially 27 I believe, and when he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can not only Foolish Burial another Vendread card but also bring the ritual spell to your hand, so that comes relatively handy to make sure you keep bringing your ritual spell back to your hand. I only play one of the new Vendread Chimera. The artwork is absolutely amazing. The only crappy part about it is that he's only searchable really through Vendread Knights, which is the new field spell. Chimera, what he does essentially is when he's on the field and any destruction effect activates, you can banish a zombie type monster in the grave and negate the destruction, or negate that card. So this comes in handy a lot. It's just, under most circumstances, you're still gonna be bringing out Slayer over Chimera because Chimera is more situational. But on the upside, if you use any of your Vendread main deck monsters, not including the rituals. Oh, actually, before I forget, Vendread Chimera, when he's used for a ritual summon, your opponent's monsters lose, I think it's 500 attack. So it doesn't matter where he's used either. This time you can use him from the graveyard and he gets the effect off. So that comes in handy. Anyways, Vendread Hound Horde. I personally play 3. I've seen a lot of people only playing 2. I really like it at 3 because when you see my cards later on, it'll make sense. But anyways, basically what Hound Horde does is you can discard a Vendread card from your hand to the graveyard, and you can special summon him from the grave, but when it leaves the field, it gets banished. When it's used for ritual summon, while it is on the field, you can that ritual monster can target and banish a spell or trap card on the field. So it doesn't matter whether it's Vendread Slayer or Vendread Chimera, it gets that effect. I played the 3 of the new Striges. Sorry if I mispronounced it. This one too actually has another like a resummoning ability, which is you reveal a Vendread card in your hand and you can special summon it back to the field. Basically what it does is when you, if you use it for a ritual summon and that monster destroys a monster, or sorry, battles a monster, so it doesn't have to necessarily be destroyed, it's just as long as it battles, you draw a card. So it's its own like little draw engine if you need to keep your ritual summon monsters on board. I only played 2 of the Revenants. The reason why is because you can't resummon himself unless he's destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So something like a Mirror Force or a Dark Hole, and he can come back. And then once again, he gets banished. And what I forgot to say about Striges, when you summon it through resummon it, it gets banished once it leaves the field again. But anyways, Revenant's actually still a really good card. Basically, what it does is when it's used for ritual summon, you can target and banish a special summon monster on your opponent's side of the field, which comes in handy quite often because now the deck is so special summon based. And technically, once you banish your opponent's monsters, they're not going to be doing or getting it back too soon. So that comes in handy. And he's a 28 beat stick. What's not to like about that, you know? Next, most zombie decks have to play it. Shiranui Solitaire. It's essentially a one-card Omega. You normal summon it, you tribute it, special summon Unizombie. Unizombie sends Mizuki, and you know the standard zombie shenanigans. This is the only Shiranui card I play. I opted not to play Spirit Master, even though it does come in handy. Especially when you like banish it, because then you target it. Anyways, point of the story is, I only play Shiranui Solitaire. I play it more of an engine, and I know this is gonna be blasphemous, but I only play one Unizombie. I turned it more into an engine, kind of like with the. How could I put this? I was very somewhat inspired by like the Symphonic Warrior engine. You know, you play 3 guitars and 1 mic, or the Brilliant Fusion engine. You play 3 Brilliant Fusion and 1 Garnet, or whatever you're playing at that point. But anyways, I decided to make it into more of an engine rather than force out Unizombies, mainly to make space for the new Vendread stuff, because I feel that this deck really focuses on getting your Vendread monsters on the board and spamming it. More for the ritual summon and trying to synchro summon relatively often. Anyways, but keeping with zombie tradition, I play 3 Mizukis. Don't hate on me because I have 3 different rarities. I tried to get them all the secret rares, but I can't seem to find them. And also another weird tech that I've been playing lately is Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk 2 is essentially a 2-card Omega. You activate its effect, discard a spell, special summon Shiranui Solitaire. Solitaire tributes itself, gets out Unizombie, and essentially from there you can get a a Cypher Lord Omega without using Mizuki's effect, which comes in handy for later on if you want to do more extended combos. Now for the spells. Good. All right, now for the spells. I play 3 Vendread Origin. Awesome ritual spell. Obviously, you can ritual summon either Chimera or Slayer with it. But what it also does is it's protection. When you have a Vendread Slayer on the board that's about to get destroyed, you can banish this and protect it essentially. So it has a dual utility, and I find it's really good. This is the new Vendread field spell, Vendread Knights. Discard a card, so it doesn't it doesn't have to be a Vendread card. It could be anything. Discard it and search for a Vendread card. So this is your main way of searching out Chimera if you need to bring it out. It's also a good way of getting your other zombies to the grave, something like Mizuki, or if you want to send one of your Vendread main deck monsters, even if you need to send the ritual monsters. Which, speaking of which, Vendread Origin can also ritual summon the monster from the grave, so that comes in handy. Essentially, your Pot of Desires in the deck. Pre-preparational rites, it's essentially, for this kind of deck, it's an instant +1. You search out a ritual spell and a ritual monster that has the ritual spell in its name, in its card text, as well as a ritual spell that has the monster's name in its card text. So essentially, you activate this, you can search out Vendread Origin and Vendread Slayer. Like I said before, this is the only crappy part about this is you can't search out Chimera, which is stops the destruction effects. Anyways, for a little bit of draw power, I play 3 Allura Darkness. Almost everything in this deck is a dark monster, except for something like the Solitaire and Mizuki. But normally at that point, if you allure and you send Mizuki to the grave, it's not that bad of a deal. Not that big of a deal. I only played 2 Terraforming, and I mainly only play 2 because of space issues. And the same thing with the 1 Burial from a different dimension. You can play 2, it's just space in this deck as of right now is very tight, and I had to make room for some of the new Vendread stuff. And for my trap lineup, so I play one Vendread Reunion. Reunion is a good card, but it requires a very large amount of setup. Basically, you can activate this, reveal a ritual monster in your hand, or Vendread ritual monster in your hand, but you have to special summon 2 banished Vendread monsters from the banish zone with different names, and it has to equal that monster's level, which becomes a pain in the butt because, like I said, it just requires so much setup. But it's one hell of a comeback card if you can get it off, because the ritual monster you bring out gains the effects from those other monsters. So it does come in handy, it just requires a lot of setup. And because of the way the deck operates, you banish your zombies relatively often, so it's not too difficult to get this off. And finally, my spicy tech for this deck, which came in handy against my duel against GuardedKam's Time Lords, is Full Force Virus. I like to really call this deck Full Force Vendreads. Basically, with this card is you tribute
You know how
a
much
dark.
sense that makes?
Huh?
You know how much sense that makes?
Full Force Vendreads?
Because of like they're a virus.
Exactly.
Holy fuck! I didn't realize that.
Anyways, what I like about this is that you have technically 6 monsters that are searchable, and that you can continuously bring them back. There are dark monsters with 2,000 or more defense. So it is, if you really wanted to be minimalistic and you had no other combos to do, you can normal summon either Vendread Striges or Vendread Hound Horde and set this. And then your play is just golden. But so far, with like an ideal play, you can essentially get out a Cyframe Lord Omega with a Vendread Slayer and have one either Striges or Hound Horde on board with this set. And at that point, you activate this, you destroy your opponent's hand, and then with Cyframe Lord Omega, not only do you recycle one of your zombies from the banish zone, but you can pick a card out of your opponent's hand, leaving them with virtually nothing, ending the duel practically right there. So, and because it's like the standard like virus cards, you look at your opponent's hand for the next 2 end phases, or sorry, 3 end phases, and every card they draw at that point, you get to look at and destroy whatever has 15 defense or less. So I find with this card, it really improves the consistency of the deck, and it makes it really consistent, and I really like this card. But this is what I was somewhat inspired by from my Cosmo deck, because you would bring out the I tried using the Full Force Cosmos with the Dogfighter and the tokens and whatever. But anyways, that's my trap lineup, and now we're gonna go to the extra deck to stop it and just to make sure we don't. It's good. Okay. All right. Now for the extra deck. Play 2 Cyframe Lord Omegas. I was gonna play 3, but I felt I can only play 2 for space issues. 1 Beals, because you have to play Beals in this format right now. Well, actually not so much anymore, but we'll see what happens in the coming format. But Beals is still, it's a very easy card to make in this deck, so I like playing it. 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, essentially just another board wipe. 1 Shiranui Shogun Saga, really good if you want to try just beating your opponent down. I play only 3 level 7, oh sorry, I forgot 1 more. A Void Ogre Dragon, really good negate spell or traps if you have no hand, and it's a 3k beater, you know. It's pretty standard, and it's really easy to make in this deck. I play 2 level 7s, just another board wipe with the Black Rose Dragon and with Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Bouncing your opponent's level 5 or higher monsters is always fun. I also play the new Samurai Destruction.
Samurai Destroyer.
Yeah, Samurai Destroyer. It's just really good. It's what do you call it? When you're like attack. Oh no, I'll just read it because it's hard for me to describe this. If this card battles the opponent's monster, your opponent cannot activate card or effects until the end of the damage step.
Yeah,
essentially, it's yeah, essentially it's an ancient gear. Excuse me. Anyways,
too more stuff to edit.
I play Baguska. I don't really bring it out. I mostly go for Omega, but if I have to, I have the opportunity to go into it. I play the Utopia package, and just because it is possible to make them, I make Proxy Dragon and Deco Talker. You don't really link summon in this deck too much. You mostly ritual summon and synchro summon, and when you synchro summon, you always go for Omega to pick apart your opponent's hand anyways, and to recycle your banished zombies. But what's also good about it is that under most circumstances, if you do bring them out, at least you can prevent your prevent targeting. And because the Vendreads have a lot of like resummoning abilities, it's not hard just to bring them back, or if they are banished, you can use Cypher and Lord Omega's effect to bring them back anyways. That's why my full force Vendread deck. If you guys have any advice, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give me some advice and tell me what you think. And hopefully we get a lot more good support for these guys, because I really like the deck. I like the theme. It looks like the Vendread Slayer looks like Spawn, which I was a big fan of as a kid.
But we also know it's Resident Evil, don't worry.
And some Resident Evil inspiration. But anyways, good night everybody, and have a good time.
Later.